What's up, guys? Joe at Momentum Works. Don't call it a comeback because we've been here before. Today we're going to be talking about the Steed Speed Caterpillar single turbo manifold. Stay tuned. All right, guys, we're going to start off a little bit about Steed Speed as a company. If you are not familiar, Steed Speed, based out of Canada, been around quite some time. They do a lot of pickup truck manifolds, and they do some other side projects as well. So you might not know them if you're watching our channel because you do mostly commercial diesel stuff, specifically cats. You might not be aware of Steed Speed, but they do have a fantastic manifold for the C15 single turbo and the C15 A-Cert. Steed Speed, smaller company, not a huge shop. They're big enough to be able to get shit done, obviously, but they're still small enough that you can pick up the phone and call them. They are dealer only, so we are a huge Steed Speed dealer. We keep these things in stock, so we do have them readily available, but if you ever need customer service, they are super friendly. If you can't get an answer from me or another Steed Speed dealer, they would be happy to help you. What's nice about that is in our market these days, it seems like you've either got guys that are so small that they're just one guy in a shop and it's kind of hard for them to keep up, or the good guys get bought out by private equity and just not so great. Steed Speed's right there in that sweet spot, and they're hand-making manifolds, well, with CNC machines, but they're hand-making manifolds up there in Canada, and we're going to get into the construction of how this manifold is made. As you can see, the Steed Speed is a one-piece design, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is one piece. You can see this bead, this welded down the center, because what Steed Speed does is they make two halves of the manifold on CNC machine, and then they go ahead and weld them together. So while it is a one-piece design, it does have a weld on here, and then they weld on their T6 flange as well. So it's not truly a one-piece, but that's never really been a problem, and Steed Speed backs that up by giving it a an unlimited warranty. So this thing is good for the entire time that you have it. So God forbid it were to crack, it is covered. Taking a look at the backside here, the flanges, you can see, again, these flanges are all made on their CNC machine, and it's flanged into that rear piece of the manifold and then sectioned together. If you're not familiar, the stock exhaust manifold on a Caterpillar is three pieces. You've got an end, a center, and an end section. And over time, when the manifold starts to corrode, these three pieces of the manifold start to push apart from each other and develop exhaust leaks. On top of that, it's also very common for the stock manifold to crack. And it's not because it's a poor quality manifold, it's just the fact that these trucks are getting pretty old at this point, guys. The last C15 single turbo rolled off the assembly line in 2003? Last 6NZs and then a couple MBNs. And then the C15 A-Certs, the last of them were gone by 2010, which was 15 years ago, guys. So these parts are getting kind of old and they need to be replaced. Now, I know the next question is always going to be, well, how is this better than the stock one? Well, let's take a look at the stock manifold. When Caterpillar is developing that motor, they have countless pieces that they have to design for that application. Whereas when we're talking about something like an aftermarket manifold, that company is solely focusing on the manifold itself so they can spend more time. Hey, but Joe, Caterpillar's got all this money. Yes, they do have all this money. But when they were making those engines, they weren't just making 1, 2, 3, a couple hundred. They were making them by the thousands. So they had to use parts that they could scale, which means they had to use parts that they could get hundreds, if not thousands of, to build these motors. They needed things they could constantly, repetition, get. And it had to be at a good cost. Caterpillar is a profitable company. I am a stockholder. And they need to turn a profit. So they needed a manifold that was cheap. They needed a manifold that was readily available. They needed a manifold that was going to meet emissions requirements. They had a lot of things that they were working on. So they did their best with the stock three-piece manifold. But now companies like Steed Speed are dedicated to delivering the best possible manifold that you can get. And while this isn't for everybody, not everybody wants to buy a $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 manifold. If you're a guy that watches my videos, or if you're a guy that still is running a piece of Caterpillar equipment, you probably care about it. You probably plan on running it for quite some time. So you want to use good quality parts. Maybe even a part with a lifetime warranty, so that God forbid something ever does happen to it, you get another one free of charge, and you keep that rig rolling down the road. I did want to take a second to talk about orientation. And when we talk about orientation, guys, we're talking about the turbo flange. So the manifold itself, the head side is always going to be the same. You know, any round port, single turbo, so any 3406C, C or E model is all going to be round port. Some of the Bs were square, and I think there might have been some square C. So as long as it's a round port, this manifold will fit. It just comes down to turbo and the orientation of the flange itself. This is a high mount flange, 9445, I believe is the last four in the center section. And this will fit any of your large cars, you know, Peterbilt 379, 389s, Kenworth W900Ls, things like that. It's going to fit as far as with your oil lines. Now, if you wanted to run a high mount on a truck that comes with a low mount, you would have to change your oil feed line, your oil drain line. You'd have to change your air cleaner piping, things like that. So it can be done, but there's a little bit of work. So the Steed Speed C15 manifold specifically is for high mount applications running a single turbo. All right, guys, so let's bring it full circle. We talked about Steed Speed as a company. We talked about fitment. We talked about how this manifold is built, if you will, you know, how it's constructed and how it comes to be. We talked a little bit about why you would want this over a stock manifold. And the last thing I want to touch on is that Steed Speed makes a ton more manifolds other than just this one. For the Caterpillar community, they also make a C15 ACERT manifold. So while this can work on an ACERT, this is for a single turbo. If you wanted to keep your factory compound turbos, Steed Speed also makes, and I'll put a picture of it up here, a C15 ACERT manifold that you can run with your compounds. Aside from that, they make a ton of competition pickup truck manifolds for Cummins applications, which we also carry on our website, even though we mostly focus on the Caterpillar stuff. So if you're looking for a comp manifold, we've probably got it. But if you are looking for a Steed Speed C15 manifold, whether it be the ACERT or whether you want the single turbo or you want the single turbo with a wastegate or maybe you want it with a drive pressure bung or pyro bung, all that kind of thing, we do keep them in stock. We are a Steed Speed dealer right here in Pennsylvania, and we ship all over the world every day. So it doesn't matter if you're not in Pennsylvania, we are happy to ship it out to you. I will ship it anywhere in the world. Literally. Name a place. I'll ship it. Kabajambistan, no problem. I'll ship it there. Ohio, I'll ship it there too. Anyway, guys, I'm rambling on. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about this manifold, please feel free to leave them in the comments or shoot me an email. If you ask me what my favorite C15 manifold is, I'm going to say that this is probably it. We sell a ton of good brands. There's a ton of good manifolds out there. Anything is basically better than the stock manifold, but if you're looking for a great manifold with a great price, built by some great folks up in Canada, I know, Canada, whatever, northern Mexico. But anyway, guys, Steed Speed single turbo manifold. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. If you're still watching and you're wondering what the heck the banana has to do with this, look up the Dull Men's Club on Facebook. They just talk about random stuff, and I know I fit into that group, but they just always have a banana for size. So I thought it would be cool to use a banana for size on the port, but the exhaust port's actually like 49 millimeters. Bye.